Hello and welcome. In this video we are discussing about Java server pages actions. So we will discuss actions in JSP. These actions use constructs in XML syntax to control the behavior of the servlet engine. You can dynamically insert a file, reuse Java Beans components, forward the user to another page, or generate HTML for the Java plugin. There is only one syntax for the action element as it conforms to the XML standard. JSP action name attribute equal to value. Action elements are basically predefined functions. The table lists out available JSP actions. Syntax and purpose. JSP include. Includes a file at the time the page is requested. JSP use bean. Finds or instantiates a Java bean. JSP set property. Sets the property of a Java bean. JSP get property inserts the property of a Java bean into the output. JSP forwards the requester to a new page. JSP plugin generates browser specific code that makes an object or embed tag for the Java plugin. JSP element defines XML elements dynamically. JSP attribute defines dynamically defined XML elements attribute. JSP body defines dynamically defined XML elements body. JSP text used to write template text in JSP pages and documents. Common attributes. There are two attributes that are common to all action elements: ID attribute and scope attribute. The ID attribute uniquely identifies the action element and allows the action to be referenced inside the JSP page. If the action creates an instance of an object, the ID value can be used to reference it through the implicit object page context. Scope attribute. This attribute identifies the lifecycle of the action element, and the ID attribute and scope attribute are directly related, as the scope attribute determines the lifespan of the object associated with the ID. The scope attribute has four possible values: page, request, session, and application. JSP include action. So this action lets you insert files into the page being generated. The syntax is JSP include page equal to relative URL flush equal to true. So unlike the include directive which inserts the file at the time the JSP page is translated into a servlet, this action inserts the file at the time the page is requested. So the table lists out the attributes associated with the include action attribute and a description. Page, the relative URL of the page to be included. Flush, the boolean attribute determines whether the included resource has its buffer flushed before it is included. Then JSP use bean action. So the use bean action is quite versatile. It first searches for an existing object utilizing the ID and scope variables, and if an object is not found, it then tries to create the specified object. The simplest way to load a bean is JSP use bean ID equal to name class equal to package.class. And once a bean class is loaded, you can use JSP set property and JSP get property actions to modify and retrieve the bean properties. So the table lists out the attributes associated with the use bean action. Class designates the full package name of the bean. Type specifies the type of the variable that will refer to the object. Bean name gives the name of the bean as specified by the instantiate method of the java.beans.beans class. So let us now discuss JSP set property and JSP get property actions before giving a valid example related to these actions. JSP set property action. The set property action sets the properties of a bean. The bean must have been previously defined before this action. There are two basic ways to use the set property action. You can use JSP set property after but outside of a JSP use bean element as below. JSP use bean ID equal to my name, JSP set property name equal to my name property equal to some property. In this case, JSP set property is executed regardless of whether a new bean was instantiated or an existing bean was found. A second context in which JSP set property can appear is inside the body of a JSP use bean element. JSP use bean ID equal to my name, JSP set property name equal to my name property equal to some property. JSP use bean. Here the JSP set property is executed only if a new object was instantiated, not if an existing one was found. So the attributes associated with the set property action. Name designates the bean, the property of which will be set. This bean must have been previously defined. Property indicates the property you want to set to. A value means that all request parameters whose names match bean property names will be passed to the appropriate setter methods. Value, the value that is to be assigned to the given property. The parameter's value is null or the parameter does not exist, the set property action is ignored. The param attribute is the name of the request parameter whose value the property is to receive. You can't use both value and param, but it is permissible to use neither. JSP get property action. So the get property action is used to retrieve the value of a given property and converts it to a string, and finally inserts it into the output. The get property action has only two attributes, both of which are required. The syntax of get property action is JSP use bean id equal to my name, JSP get property name equal to my name, property equal to some property. So the required attributes associated with the get property action: name, the name of the bean that has a property to be retrieved, and the bean must have been previously defined. Property, the property attribute is the name of the bean property to be retrieved. So compile the code generated testbean.class and make sure copy.testbean.class in C Apache Tomcat 7.0.2/web/webinf/classes/action folder, and the class path variable should be set to this folder. JSP forward action. So the forward action terminates the action of the current page and forwards the request to another resource such as a static page, another JSP page, or a Java servlet. The syntax of forward action is JSP forward page equal to relative URL. So the attributes associated with the forward action: page should consist of a relative URL or another resource such as a static page, another JSP page, or a Java servlet. JSP plugin action. So the plugin action is used to insert Java components into a JSP page, and it determines the type of browser and inserts the object or embed tags as needed. If the needed plugin is not present, it downloads the plugin and then executes the Java component, and the Java component can be either an applet or a Java bean. The plugin action has several attributes that correspond to common HTML tags used to format Java components. The param element can also be used to send parameters to the applet or bean. JSP element, JSP attribute, and JSP body actions are used to define XML elements dynamically. The word dynamically is important because it means that XML elements can be generated at requested time rather than statically at a compile time. JSP text action. So JSP text action can be used to write the template text in JSP pages and documents. Syntax is JSP text template data JSP test. So the body of the template cannot contain other elements. It can only contain text and EL expressions. EL expressions are explained, and note that in XML files you can use sub expressions such as whatever, because the greater the signs. Instead they use the GT form such as wherever GT0, or an alternative is to embed value in a C data section. So this was a brief discussion on Java server pages actions. Thanks for watching this video. Bye for now.